Marcus Wareing is one of the UK's most acclaimed chefs. His eponymous Mayfair restaurant has been awarded 2 Michelin stars, and he hosts the UK's MasterChef, The Professionals. He trained in the classic way. He learned his trade using copper pots and traditional roasting ovens, but he's also found a way of using new technology in his kitchens. I've come to Treadwell's, his modern eatery in London's Covent Garden, and one of the most technically advanced in his group, to find out how technology is changing the way his kitchens work.
We have used technology in the kitchen, whether it be a water bath, a vacuum pack machine, a temperature controlled, a centrifuge, all sorts of pieces of kit that have come into the kitchen that have helped us, the chefs, sort of get away from that copper pot on the stove, that intense heat. You're removing the potential of error, or human error, by control, element control, heat control, time control, and that for me is something that's really changed a lot. So technology is massive.
Classically trained chefs require a much higher level of skill. Modern tools have opened the door to younger and less experienced cooks.
My cookery was all about touch and feel. Almost make mistakes to learn your trade. Cooking on a hot cooker stove, we roasted meats and fish in the oven. Pastry's always been pastry, that's always been very technical, and you've always had to follow a recipe. But where cookery is concerned, it was about your experience, and so you needed to gain a huge amount of working experience, a lot of man hours in a kitchen to learn the skill and the touch and the feel of what it was like to be a chef. But also then you had to train the palate. Kitchens were very hot-tempered places when I was training, and the heat of the kitchen and what sounds very simple and basic, it actually was really, really hard thing to do, and you needed to be incredibly dedicated. The world has changed. Young people now, young chefs, they were looking for something a little bit different, and they want a slightly easier, more enjoyable job. So we've used technology in the kitchen to make the job easier.
Okay guys, check on bread and butter prawns, monkfish pork chop. We've got the mac and cheese side and green beans.
And it's not just cookery techniques that have been assisted by new gadgets. The operational side of the restaurant business has benefited from new technology too.
Having 3 restaurants across London, it's important for us to be able to communicate easily and also look at documents, etc. So that's where we use Google Drive, which helps us all access documents. So we look at things like forecasts for the restaurant, so the cover forecasts, we look at the revenue. We use an iPad in this kitchen, so all of our fridge temperature records, our delivery records, it's all done straight onto a Google form, which allows us, obviously the speed, it allows us to access it from anywhere. So if I'm not here, I can check that the temperatures have been done, that they're okay. So again, it's eliminating the need to actually physically come and check a paper record, which also could potentially be lost, something could be spilt on it. So all of our recipes are on the Google Drive, so they're all shared on the iPad, so all the guys can go and access the recipes. If I need to tweak something in the recipe, I just need to tweak it from my administrator level. When you have questions that guests have, you know, from a front of house perspective as well, or if there's things like allergens, the access to, you know, to Google, to finding those things is now instantaneous, whereas before you'd have to say, I don't know.
But while Wareing has embraced technology in his kitchens, he insists that he won't deploy it for its own sake. Taste, touch and feel are still the most crucial part of cooking at this level.
The food has evolved to go with the times. Technology's come into the equation. I won't say I like it all, but I now can see the reasons for having it, and I think it's important because these young people want to use it. Young chefs will want to see the future. They don't always tend to look too far in the past, but to know how to move forward, you've got to look at your past. And that's something they must never forget. Chefs will try anything to try and do something different for the sake of doing something different. I think I allow them to come to the table with all their ideas. I just have to make sure that it passes my palate test before it goes anywhere near a client.
If we project a little bit into the future, there's a lot of talk in other industries about machines replacing us. Do you ever see a point, because that palate bit is so important, and obviously a very human, subjective thing. Do you think there'll be more machines moving into the cooking process, and is that going to further change the chef?
Looking at the future through my own sort of crystal ball of watching how the last 10 years have changed, I think there's going to be a huge amount of technology. I think you'll see less people in the kitchen. How that will look, I don't know. Will we ever see a robot putting food together? I doubt it. Well, certainly not in my lifetime anyway. But I certainly think technology is growing. It's there, and it's there to stay. It's just going to get better and better and better.